Hello everybody, and welcome to today's tutorial on Cinemacolour for Blender, particularly for filmic Blender. Now, a bit of a warning, I live on a farm, so you're going to hear owls, squirrels, chickens, various birds, and the occasional dog. So, let's get into it. Cinemacolour is a collection of LUTs for Blender. Now, what are LUTs? LUT stands for lookup table. Think of it as an equation, as this equation, R is equals to S plus L, where R is your result, what you want. S is your source image or your source footage, and L is the LUT that you're going to apply to your source image to get R, your result. Now, initially, LUTs weren't intended to replace color correction or grading. I'll give you an example. So, color correction. When you're printing your image or movie onto actual film, right, and some of you are asking, printing onto film? Yes. Sometimes people release, there's something called a release print, where your video, even if it's digital footage, is then printed onto film and sent to theaters. And the person who does this is called a digital intermediate. Yeah? So let's get back to it. So now, film stock, when you're printing onto film stock has its own sort of nuances when it comes to color and everything. So you can grade your film in your grading software and then try to print it onto film, but when you do that, you're going to get something completely different from what you wanted. So here comes back to our equation where R is equals to S plus L. So R, in this case, will be the final look that you want. Yeah? S will be your film. Now, L will be the LUT that you apply when you're grading to show you what your footage is going to look like on the final film, when it's printed onto the film. Yeah? So, in that I'm showing you how LUTs weren't intended to, be a creative grade on your final result, but that has changed nowadays, and a lot of people use LUTs for grading. Now, I wouldn't advise if you're grading like film to just use LUTs, because sometimes there's things with the lighting and everything. But something that people do, and something that you can do, is put LUTs in your camera when you're shooting. Depends on the kind of camera. So you put the LUT onto you put your LUT into the camera or onto the monitor that you use when you're shooting, and it shows you what your footage is going to look like. Yeah? So that way, all your lighting and everything is done for the LUT and with the LUT in mind. Which brings me to Cinemacolour. Now, Cinemacolour itself is like shooting with a LUT in the camera or your monitor. Yeah? Because once you install it, you can apply a LUT and see what your shot is going to look like with the LUT. Yeah? So you change your lighting and everything with that in mind, and then you can go and tweak that later. So let's get down to installing the add-on, and we see how it works. So unzip the folder, unzip the file that you've been sent, and copy the folder into your add-on directory. So I'm going to put it up here on the screen for those of you who do not know where your add-on directories are. So put the very different ones. So Windows, Linux, and Mac. Yeah. So when that's done, you come to your file, user preferences, and search for it. So just type Cinemacolour, and you're going to find it over here. So you'd want to enable it. So you're going to click on Add the Looks. So this installs. This adds the LUTs to Filmic Blender, changes your configuration file, and because of that, you'll have to restart Blender. So just give mine a second. Good. So they're installed, you need to restart Blender. So let's do that. it. Good. So now we restart Blender. Make sure that you've got it enabled here. Make sure that you've got it enabled. Yeah. And then come down to your scene settings. Yeah. And scroll all the way down. Now, you're going to find it there at the bottom, but it's disabled. Yeah. So why is it disabled? Earlier I had said that it's particularly for Filmic Blender, so you need to have some settings in place. So if you click that button there, it changes everything for you, so you don't need to do that. But basically what it does, it makes sure that you're in cycles, and let's scroll up here to the color management tab. It will change the view to Filmic and the color space to Filmic Log. That's it. So there we have it. That's the add-on right there. That's the tab. So let's open the scene that came with the add-on. Give it a second, and there we go. So your scene might look slightly different from mine, depending on how I sent it. So, like I said earlier, it works in both rendered viewport and once you've done a complete render. Now, I'm not going to put it in rendered viewport shading because while doing a screen recording like this and a scene that is a bit heavy, my computer is just going to slow down and become rubbish. So I'm going to do a render. I'm going to change the samples down here to 200 so that it renders a bit fast. So let's start the render, then I'll see you all when it's done. And welcome back. So we've got the render over there. This is just a compositor down here. We've brought in things like that lens flare and everything. Okay, so there we have the render. There's like no look applied right now. So if you come down to the look browser down here, if you just click the image, it brings you a menu where you can choose different looks. And there's some, you can see what the look is sort of going to look like through in the menu. So let's click on them and see what we come up with. So that's one. Not bad. And not all looks will work with all scenes. There's one. That's another one. I like this one. Yeah. And I'm going to be creating more and more looks for Cinemacolour that you can then use, with the plugin over here with the look browser. So look out for that. Look out for more updates. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask. And if any of you are wondering about the anamorphic flare over there, it's just wait for the spinning beach ball of death to finish. The anamorphic flare over there is basically just a node group that I created, and it's actually free to download on the website. So I'll put a link to the website at the end of the video. Yeah. And it has many parameters that you can tweak, so you can change what the flare does. Yep, so that's about it. Thank you.